Hi! Welcome to your video to learn how to read tarot cards. So there are a lot of different ways to do it, and not any single way is a wrong way to do it, but I will teach you my method. And the way that I read tarot cards is intuitively. So everybody has their own psychic abilities, okay? So the way that I was recognizing mine when I first started reading was claircognizance. Now there's 5 different clairs: claircognizance, sentience, voyance, audience, which would be hearing. Voyance is seeing. Cognizance is just knowing. Sentience is, feeling. And there's another one, but doesn't matter because that's not what this video is about. This video is about learning how to read tarot cards. Okay, so first things first is you're going to need a deck, right? So personally, my favorite deck is the Waite deck. And the reason why I like this one is because the images are very standard, okay? These are images that you will see different variations of across the board in multiple decks, okay? It's a good deck to start learning with just because it's very familiar and known around the world. There's a lot of resources available to help you on your way, but also because the imagery on the cards is really, really going to help you to remember what each card means. Now, one important thing about learning how to read tarot is that as I said, everybody receives their messages differently. And when you're reading intuitively, that's important, right? So I got a little sidetracked. Sorry about my ADD. So I was getting my messages claircognizantly. So I was getting like little ideas above my right eyebrow. And so I could tell that they weren't my own conscious thoughts, like my ego creating a thought about somebody's situation, that it was being guided to me. But one thing that you'll notice as you start reading is that you'll be drawn to specific images within the card. Okay, so for example, in the Page of Swords card, is just the first one I pulled out of the deck here. Swords energies are always about communication. Pages are always about communication. And the swords are often about honesty and truth. Now, typically, this doesn't jump out to me, but right now, as I pull this card out, I see that the person is wearing pink. I've never noticed that before. Now, pink energy is about love. So I might express to someone, or think in my own reading I'm doing for myself, that perhaps a communication about love is coming, okay? So within your standard tarot deck, you're going to have 78 cards. If one is missing, you better find it. But it's sorted out into the major arcana and the minor arcana. Now, what the fuck does that mean? Okay, so as we kind of go through these different cards here, I'll explain to you what that means. You see this one here is a 5. And it has swords. So it's 5 of swords. That's a minor arcana card. Because there's different suits. We have swords, we have cups, we have wands, and we have pentacles. Those are all the minors, okay? Now there are court cards within each of the minor arcanas. So court cards would be pages. They would be knights, queens, and kings. Otherwise they go 1 through 10 for each suit. Now, this is what I was talking about when I said major arcana cards, okay? The Hierophant. So it's not associated to any specific suit. It's not a sword. It's not a wand. It's not a pentacle, although, and it's not a cup, although any of those things could be on here. It still does have a number. It's the number 5. And the reason why that is because the major arcanas come first in the deck, so they are numbered, okay? But that's not necessarily usually something that matters in the reading until you get to more advanced levels. This one here, as you can see, is a 6, the Lovers. So this is also a major arcana card. Now, same with the Tower. This one here, 4 of Swords, so it's another minor arcana card. Now, the difference between major and minor is that major arcana cards are actually major energies, right? They're things in your life that are very important, okay? They can be life-changing. They might not always be, but they're longer lasting energies. you know, things like swords, wands, they can be kind of day-to-day level sort of things, maybe last for a few weeks or a month, but these are the kind of things that last a longer amount of time or are bigger deals in your life, okay, that they carry through. Now, this would be an example of 8 of Cups. You have the 8 here, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cups right there. Now, one thing I want to talk about also as you learn to read tarot is what each of the different suits means. So we'll just go over this briefly, and as time goes on and I make more videos, we'll get more in depth, but I just kind of want to give you a quick overview as to how it works. So swords, like I said, communication, truth, honesty. Like an example of this one, the 5 of Swords, he had to, for his highest good, communicate something to these people, and they're really sad and they're walking away, but he had to do it. And 5s, you know, we'll talk more about number energies too as you get really in depth with learning how to read tarot, but 5s are always about upheaval and disharmony and dysfunction, so that's part of what's going on here in that card. Cups are always about your emotions, okay? And cups are related to water because something has to fill the cup, right? So whenever you see water on a card, it is sort of an emotionally tied energy. So cups are often about love. They're often about hurt feelings too. What else do we have? Pentacles. So pentacles are your day-to-day energies. These are things that you have to deal with every single day. So your home, your work, your money. This is definitely about work and money. So when you see these coming up a lot, you can tell that maybe the direction that a reading is going is to give advice and guidance on a career matter, okay? And I'm just looking for a little wand here. Okay, got the 6 of Wands. So these are wands here. All these little sticks with stuff growing on them, those are wands. And wands are kind of interesting because they're often about new starts, new beginnings, enthusiasm, excitement, that sort of a thing. They can also, they're kind of like a cover-all though, because they can be also about communication as well. So first things first, when you get your new pack of cards, okay, you might read the book. You might find that it has a lot of mumbo jumbo about rituals and, you know, you've got to deal it with this hand and you got to do this with this hand, and you don't. Because if you're using the cards correctly, and if you're learning to read intuitively like the way that I do, and I'm not saying that other ways are wrong, but this is the way I'm going to teach because this is how I do it. This is what I know. If you're doing it that way, it's not actually necessary at all. So there's a couple different things that you're going to want to do first. So the first thing is you're going to want to cleanse your cards. Now you can do that by touching each card, okay? And then kind of running your hands over it and then just hitting it so that all of the negative energy drops. Now, another way to do this would be to get a candle. You see, I get that from Home Goods. It's my favorite place for candles. I love it. Anyway, this one smells like tea. It's beautiful. Doesn't have to be white. Your books might tell you that it does. Doesn't. You pick whatever you want. So anyway, you get your candle, okay? And unfortunately, I don't know if I can tip this so you can see it. Okay, so you get your candle. I like to always, before I start a reading, tip it back. I close my eyes and I take some really deep breaths, okay? Like at least 3. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And I'm imagining that white light is coming through me. And if it kind of gets stuck different places, I just keep taking deep breaths until it kind of shoots through my body and then comes out my feet and kind of surrounds me, okay? And in my mind, I'm asking for guidance. I am asking that the angels, that, you know, beings of light and love will help me to channel the messages to those who need it, you know, and also to keep me protected as I'm doing this, and just to give the most accurate reading possible from a place of love and light, because that's the whole point of doing these readings, right, is to help other people, not to spook them out, not to creep them out, but to give them answers and confidence so that they can move forward in their life in a healthier way, making better decisions. So once I've done that, Then I might also ask, please cleanse these cards of any energies that are previously attached to them so that I can use them to help whomever I'm helping next with these cards. So I like to run each of the cards over the candle. Okay. But before you just get right into reading, you're also going to want to make your cards your own. So you take them out of the box and, you separate them because sometimes they're kind of stuck to each other because they came out of the factory. So you're going to want to clear that energy right off of here and be like, hey, yo, can you please help me get all the energy off the factory and whatever they might have picked up and shipping off of here? And then you're going to want to do what the books are going to call consecrating the cards, make them your own. Okay. So sometimes they're going to say, take a card, look at it. What does it mean to you? Tuck it under your pillow, meditate on it, blah, blah, blah. You can do all of those things. But the first thing that you're going to want to do when you get your deck is to, run them over the flame or at least touch everyone, whether or not you use a candle, and just say, please infuse these cards with my energy so that these cards become my own, so that these cards are able to speak with me, so that I develop a relationship with this specific deck of cards. Now, that being said, there are different decks that you could work with. An example here, as I said, this is a good deck to start with, the Rider-Waite. Any version of it is going to be great. Another deck is the Gilded Tarot. Okay, now as you can see, these are very much based on the Rider-Waite deck. They have the same exact cards within them. It's just different depictions, okay? So you could start with this one. However, like I said, I do kind of recommend that one. Now, there are also different kinds of decks. You'll see what are called oracle decks, things like that. Excuse me, just going to grab one from back here somewhere. Okay. Whoops, not that. This is a good example of an oracle deck. They're typically larger in size. Now, you can get your decks anywhere. You can order them online. You can go to Barnes & Noble. You could go to an esoteric bookstore. Whatever speaks to you is probably where you should start. You could order them on Amazon. But oracle decks are a little bit different, okay? So this one, for example, is one by Doreen Virtue. She's kind of the know-it-all of tarot and angel messages and things like that, a really great resource. But so these are going to be more able to predict the future, allegedly, right? So cards like this might say, within the next few months, success, in the near future. No, but these do not always give us the answers that we need. So you might want to learn how to first use your Rider-Waite deck and then add these in, because sometimes you want to get a quick yes or no answer, but it's not very helpful if you're not understanding why. Because what happens if you get a maybe out of here? Well, thanks, but that wasn't helpful, right? And unless you're super attuned to what your angels and spirit guides are saying, you might not know what that means. Okay, so anyway, not a good starter deck is all I want to say about oracle cards. And they come a lot of different variations. Here's another one, for example, that just have little messages, loud and clear, sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows everywhere. There's so many different kinds of decks, but I'm going to teach you kind of based off of this one. And as we get moving, I can teach you more and more from different decks, but I really feel like this is the best way to start. Now, that being said, you can go out and buy these for yourselves, but there is kind of a tarot tradition in which people say, if you are gifted a deck, you must use it. And I honestly, wholeheartedly believe that. I do not personally feel a deep connection to animals. Some people do. I personally do not. So this is not a deck that I would have chosen for myself. I feel like the colors on it are a little bit bland and boring, and the imagery is just not my cup of tea. It's not what I would have chosen, meerkat, peacock, dog. But let me tell you, this deck has been such a great deck for me. My mother gave it to me when I opened up my little tarot shop on Mondays here a few weeks ago, and I've been using this in my readings in personal readings for people, and holy moly, is that resonating. There's one in here about playing drums to heal yourself. And I thought, well, that's unusual. That's real straight up specific. But come to find out, my client was actually a drummer. So anyway, if you are gifted a deck, please learn how to use it. If you need assistance in trying to learn how to use that specific deck, maybe I'll know how and maybe I can help you. Just leave me a comment and I'll try. But if you're going to buy one for yourself to kind of get started in learning how to read, this would be where I would start. So this is kind of how you start, okay? Now, it is going to feel overwhelming to get your cards and go, holy fuck, how do I do this, right? And to kind of trust your own intuition as you're doing readings. So where you may want to start, some people will say, just randomly pull a card out, look at it, okay? And then what impression do you get from the card? Write it down in a journal. If you're not a writer, that's okay. You don't have to. But maybe think about what they mean to you on your own, what impression you get before you go and look up what each card means. Because you don't want to be reliant upon your book, especially if you're going to give readings for others in the distant or near future, okay? So this one, obviously, it's heartbreak, right? And this is heartbreak that has been discovered because of the communication, because of swords are about honesty. There's a lot of cloudiness and rain, sadness and disappointment. So often cards like this in the tarot books are going to say things such as cheating, right? It's a love triangle. There's 3 people involved. But I don't read it that way personally. So however you feel the card is speaking to you is the best way to interpret it, okay? I would say maybe a third party is involved. It could be cheating, right? But it could also be somebody else's opinion. It could be that your family doesn't like your partner. But it doesn't even have to be that. It could be, your work. Maybe your work is interfering in your love life. Maybe you're taking a promotion and it requires a move. More than that, though, all this really indicates to me is disappointment, heartbreak, sadness, right? But is it going to last forever? Hopefully not, because it's a minor arcana card, right? It's a 3 of swords. So that's just kind of something that I wanted to put out there. But the way that I like to read cards the best, and I see some bullshit on you have to shuffle, 17 times and put them in 3 piles and cut the deck, whatever. Don't shuffle like you're a card dealer at Las Vegas. You shuffle however you fucking want to, because this is your method. You create your own rituals. It's okay. So I shuffle it like I'm shuffling a standard deck of cards, and then I might go through it like this. Any cards that are jumping out to me that just kind of like, let's say one just like flies right out of the deck here, okay? I'm going to say that one wants to be read. So I pick it up and it's in the reverse. We're going to get to reversals later. Right now I'm going to teach you how to read only upright, okay? Now this is the star. So what do you get from this? Well, you see a lot of happiness here, right? Because of all of the stars here. I interpret stars to be hopes and wishes. So this would be like your wishes coming true. But you see all of the ground? This is like your reality, your day-to-day life. And then the water, we already talked about our emotions. So she is got a good balance going. She's feeding her emotions to her day-to-day life, to her stability, to what is kind of real, but then also to her emotions, to her wishes, to her dreams, which are being fulfilled. So this is a wonderful card to get, isn't it? Okay, so I like to read that way, but some people will do traditional spreads, and I can teach you those as well. But really what I wanted to start off with in this lesson, and I know it's getting kind of long, but I want to give you some good content for your first video at least, is that you don't necessarily need to have your own spread. You can ask a question in your mind, you can ask it out loud and get an answer, okay? So I might say, what should I do about this situation? And I pull out the 10 of Pentacles. Now, Pentacles are about money, okay? Pentacles are about your day-to-day life. Now, when there's 10 of them here, you see this would be the person here who's looking back on their life on their family, on their dogs, on everything that they've acquired. And they're thinking about, being able to leave all this money for them when they go because they're old and they're going to die eventually. This is about long-term planning, longevity, putting money away, stashing to the side, making investments, thinking about your stability in the long-term investments. That's what this one's about. So my advice would be then to invest in my long-term future and my goals so that I can put money aside to leave something for my children, to leave a legacy, right? Now, if that didn't make a lot of sense to me, I might pull another card and say, well, what does that mean? Give me more information on how to do that. And what the advice here would be saying is emotionally, I haven't decided where the heck I want to put all of my investment, okay? Because I have 7 cups here. And so my energy is being torn. I only have so much to give of myself. And all of these things look appealing. And so it's like I have so many options that there's all of this cloudiness and confusion. And I don't really know what to do. So then I might say, okay, give me some more advice. And then get this card here, which is the 9 of Wands, which is saying, be ready to defend yourself against attack. But really, you've built up some pretty strong walls. Like, you've made some good choices. So be confident that there's growth to come of it. Because wands are always about growth. They're about your own personal growth and development, things moving forward. Like I said, wands are always about adventure, excitement, opportunity, because each wand has little buds on it, which are our growth moving forward, things blossoming. So it's just kind of reassurance that I've done a lot of the work. It's just that I have to figure out my area of focus so that I can achieve this. That's how I would read that. And that's how you can read too. Just starting with a single question, pulling one card out, and seeing where it takes you. Now, another way that you can read is just to pull out, 5 cards or so. So I'm going to pull 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then you read it like a movie, okay? So what would be the story here? I'm just going to flip these all upright, as I said. Okay. So looking at these, I would read this like a movie, okay? So the first thing, death. This could be an actual death, but typically in tarot, death is not so ominous and scary. It's more of a change, right? Letting a door close, letting something die so something new and better can come in its place. And then we have the King of Wands, so, feeling secure and confident and, like you're going in the right direction. Being excited because it's wands, and, we didn't quite talk about this, about the court cards yet in the suits, the pages, the knights, the queens, the kings, but the king is obviously at the top. He's feeling the most secure about things. Then we've got that 9 of Wands again we talked about. We've got the 8 of Pentacles. This guy, as you can tell, he's working really, really hard, and Pentacles are about work and money, but he's paying a lot of attention to the details, and he doesn't look upset that he's doing it. And then the 10 of Wands, as you can see, he's working towards new growth, new opportunities. He's going after a goal, but he's carrying all of this weight, and it seems like he might, the burden might be more than he can bear. So the way that I would read this is like a movie story, So in the beginning of the movie, something died, something changed, and it was hard. It was sad. But ultimately, it left you feeling confident to move forward on a new adventure. And you said, what? All of these changes are really, really hard, and I learned a lot from it. So the worst is behind me. I'm moving forward, and I've got my eyes open, to avoid danger. But I feel well prepared, and I'm working really, really hard, paying attention to details. And sometimes it seems like the workload that I'm doing here is more than I can bear. But I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to focus on my goals. So that's kind of how I would read that, Like you have the beginning of the movie, the setting the place, and then moving forward, what's happening as time goes on. Another quick way that you could read cards is called the 3-card past, present, future spread. So you just say, okay, and just pull a single card for each one, and you can pull out clarifiers as needed if you're not really understanding what they're meaning. But the first one, what's going on in the past? What's going on in the present? And what can I expect for the future? Now, justice. Justice was served. Now, whether that is worked out in your favor or not, I guess depends on your karma, right? If you murdered someone and, well, you got caught. If you didn't, your name was cleared. But so in the present time, feeling emotionally fulfilled because the queen is very stable, right? Cups are about emotions. And she's got all of this water here, which we also know is about emotions. So she's feeling really content, you know? She's feeling really, really good about things. But what's coming in the future? Well, the Page of Cups, I read this a little bit differently. Some people, as I mentioned, are going to use pages as messengers. So messages, emotional messages of love could be coming. But to me, because I read intuitively and I get my messages differently, I tend to, just like you will, when you read cards, different cards are going to mean different things to different people, okay? So to me, this is my crazy person card because the Page of Cups is expressing his emotions to a fish who's living in his cup, okay? He's supposed to take this cup and offer it to someone, an offer of love. But instead, he's holding onto it and he's talking to a fish and his outfit is fucking ridiculous. And so he just seems crazy, okay? So the way that I would have read this one is maybe a little bit offensive to the querent or the person whose cards are being read. But it's just saying, you know, justice was served. And while that is bringing you some emotional stability, you know, while you are feeling okay about this now because things have worked themselves out and there is finally, you know, an answer, might make you feel crazy in the future. So a good example of this is, I don't know why this is coming to me, maybe because I live in Minnesota and the Jacob Wetterling case, you know, they just solved the mystery. The kid's body was found. He was a kid who was kidnapped when I was a child, and his mother came to every single school here in Minnesota and talked to us and taught us how to avoid kidnappers and things like that. So it's something that's always been up in the media here, but that's how this is resonating for me right now. Maybe that's why I pulled it, but it's like, okay, justice is going to be served. The guy is going to be sentenced in October, and while, you know, emotionally, it feels good to have that closure. It does. It also makes you feel crazy to know that your son is no longer alive, right? They found his body. And up until this moment, up until this happened, everyone just assumed that he was like a brainwashed 37-year-old walking around the world somewhere. Nobody assumed that he was dead yet. So, I mean, very horrible and sad example, but it's just, that's how it's coming through for me right now. So those are some ways that you can read. You'll get another lesson here in a couple weeks, but I hope that's kind of a good introduction and start for you. If you have specific questions or areas that you want to work on first, we will definitely do that. Just leave those as a comment for me. Okay, bye.